No. What's up, guys? I love Pencil here, and here we are to break down whether or not the battle between Gojo and Sukuna is actually over with the advent of chapter 235 of Jujutsu Kaisen. And I will admit, I may be wrong, alright? I may be absolutely incorrect. We do have a 2-week break, and I have been enjoying this fight quite a lot. So maybe, just maybe, I'm the teeniest tiny bit delusional when I say that I don't think this fight is not just not over. I don't think it's like realistically gonna be done for like another month and a half. Being generous. I'm talking about a month and a half on top of the 2-week break. So realistically, like 2 months. At bare minimum, I don't see this fight ending before that. But of course, that may just be me being absolutely crazy. I may be huffing pure liquid copium. And why? Why would I believe such a thing? Why would I make such a blasphemous statement? Well, let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it so we can find out why I dare make such a blasphemous, insane statement. So, what's up, guys? That was Pencil here. Fun fact, have it on me, and I keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact is that Sukuna's still alive. And like breathing? Like he exists still. You wanna know who else is still alive and breathing and exists still? I got Gojo Satoru. And remember, what happens if either of these characters are still doing the breathing? Oh, I wonder what would happen if one of these two characters, both of which have some of the highest amount of healing, and if not arguably the best healing in the verse, next to the literal immortal man, the fact that both of them are still alive and one of them ended 235 by healing their wounds, it would not shock me if Sukuna just needed a hot second or two to actually get himself healed back up. We don't actually know how much cursed energy Sukuna has spent. We don't actually know. We would like to assume it's a lot because the man's dropped like 4 domains, a bunch of different shadow, all that. Like he's been messing around a whole lot. So obviously we would love to assume that Sukuna's actually running low on juice. But we know Gojo will never run out of juice, and we actually don't know anything about Sukuna's reserves. Like if he's actually dipping down low, if he's not. The only thing that may be effective of his is maybe his output. But even then, according to Kusakabe, that's just a theory. Like, maybe it's lowering. We don't actually have real proof or evidence for anything about Sukuna's output being lower. So, Sukuna's still alive. And Gojo's still alive. That's the first big thing that indicates this battle is not over to me. And ultimately, you may be wondering, like, well, okay, they're both still alive, but look at it this way. Gojo obviously wouldn't want to Megami, because that's Megami, you know, that's his kid, that's his boy, quite literally. And that's true, obviously. I think it's one of the main reasons that Sukuna has survived this fight as well as he has. But that's another reason why I don't think the fight is over, because Sukuna is still in Megami. And like, until Sukuna is like physically put down, or like restrained to the ultimate degree, I do not see this fight being over if Gojo Satoru is still alive to actually contest them. If Gojo drops, maybe it could be over. But considering Gojo's alive and well, and Sukuna is alive and well, and the fact that Sukuna would not leave Megami Fujigoro without a fight, I'm 100% confident in the idea that, yeah, the fight's not exactly over yet. Another thing that has me extremely confident that this fight isn't over. Neither of the characters have actually, like, they haven't shown everything that's been offered, if you know what I'm saying. Like, think about it real quick. Sukuna's the biggest one. Here, and unfortunately, he's not a lot to show. Like, here's the thing, right? In terms of techniques that we know he has, the main one we have not seen is technically his reversion to his true self, but that's not necessarily a technique, that's more of a body change thing. And 2, it's the black box open. That's the big one, obviously. That's the big one everyone's been looking for. But those 2 alone are 2 very big things that we kind of need to see. It's been hinted at too much. It's been given into too much. There's too much stock in both of those things for them to not happen at all. Like, they just don't happen at any way, shape, or form. Those are 2 big things that still need to happen from Sukuna. Not to talk of the fact of things that we don't know that he has. Like, notably, I and everyone and their mama agrees that Sukuna has a real CT. That's likely the trump card that the cast was referring to in chapter 234. But at the same time, none of us really know what that is. Is it just black box open? I don't know. The flame arrow itself was listed as a second technique when Gege broke down Sukuna's techniques in a data book. Cleave and dismantle / shrine was their own listing for a curse technique. Then the flame arrow that came as a byproduct of box open was classified as its own technique. So it's nice that we know flame arrow exists, but what about that original? What about that bad boy, huh? Where is it? Where is it? Obviously, it could just be the case that Gege does not give it to us. It would not be the first time that a character is implied to have a much deeper bag, only for the character to lose an extreme and permanent way before they can show off the depth of said bag. Looking at you, Ryu Ishigori. Looking at you, Earl. Well, to be fair, Earl could still come back, but I'm assuming she's Kenjaku fodder. Looking at pretty much any character, Hanami. Even, we don't know what Jogo's domain does. It's just a really hot place. Like there are a bunch of different characters who have been explicitly established to have things, but then Gege is like, yeah, they have them. I'll even show you what they look like. I'm going to refuse to elaborate, though. And then Gege just ends it. But once again, think of the characters I'm listing here. Hanami, Ryu, Uro. Like, trust me, I love Ryu not even as much as the next guy, likely more than the next guy. That's why I was explicitly wrong when I said Ryu's one of the tankiest characters in the series, because I was just wrong. Like wholesale, just incorrect. Ryu's not one of the tankiest characters in the series. He just got hit with his own cursed energy. I mean, you could definitely argue he's really, really tanky because he like caught Rika's awakened blast, but like even still, Rika's not all that. I'm not. That sounds wrong to say, but Rika not all that. But regardless of that being the case, they are, at best, all the characters I named are at best secondary supporting villains. Hanami, Jogo, Ryu, like, obviously they're all powerhouses, they're all important relative to their spots in the narrative, and notably, I don't even think Sukuna's the main villain. If you had to ask me where my hat is in that ring, I'd hands down say it is Big Papa Kenjaku, the big brain boy. But in this case, I think Sukuna's just a little bit too important for him to get got before we see his true technique. I know that's crazy. Y'all maybe want to like, well, why? But it's Sukuna. Like, we've been building to this thing. Realistically, like, you could argue it's ever since Sukuna was introduced, since we still don't have an actual proper technique. The fandom has colloquially called Cleave and Dismantle Shrine, because that's what Yorozu mentions it as in her battle with Sukuna. We don't actually know the name of Sukuna's even Cleave and Dismantle technique. We don't really understand the name of the Black Box technique. We definitely don't understand the true name of Sukuna's technique. So that vagueness could be argued to be as early as when Sukuna was first introduced and we learned what curse techniques were, or at best, or at the latest in the 110s when Sukuna's fighting Jogo, and he specifically tells Jogo, "Don't worry, I won't cheat by revealing my curse technique." And then obviously that's had everyone's minds aflame, like, whoa, what is this? He has a extra curse technique, crazy. That's when we first got introduced to Black Box. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that is hinted at there. And while I don't think Sukuna is final antagonist important, I do believe he's a bit too important to not have his true CT showed off. The only issue is that he's trying to like use it against Satoru Gojo. You know, like the guy with the neutral infinity barrier. And that's the big issue. That's the big issue. And with Mahoraga unfortunately cooked, I think that's another video for another time. Mahoraga is most likely cooked, but I don't think Sukuna has any real way to conventionally get past the barrier. Like, unless he can find a way to like use domain amplification and then like maybe on one half of his body and then infuse true CT into the other side of his body, or if true CT has delayed effect, like he can like set up projectiles and it'll fire, and then he like grabs Gojo with domain amplification, essentially like acting as not a human shield. I guess like just something to get in the way and allow the attacks to hit. Like, essentially, he becomes his own inverted Spear of Heaven. But that'd be weird and complicated and awkward. So that's the only reason I'm a little bit iffy on having we don't know Sukuna's true technique as a reason for Sukuna versus Gojo not being over. But I think it is. Because you got to realize, hypothetically, even if we weren't in the very specific situation that we were at the end of 235, where it was, let's say, Gojo on the back foot, and Sukuna was still standing, Sukuna's not going to whip out his true technique on any of Jujutsu High. They talk about how he may have whipped it out if they had interfered, but that was only because he would still have to be worried about Gojo at the time, and he wouldn't be sure whether or not Gojo would come in and take advantage of the fact that Sukuna's not distracted by some fodder. So that's it. He would just whip out one cleave, one full power, unrestricted cleave from Maguna, even at this state. I know it sounds crazy, but even at the state he's in at the end of 235, hand missing, shirt off, dogs out, everything. Undoubtedly, a single cleave still casually tears through anything and everything. Put any other character in the series in Maguna's position during 235, and they're not alive. Sukuna's still alive. So I have faith that the curse technique is kind of keeping the battle going on, because he has no reason to pull it out against the others unless he's literally just flexing. And considering the last time we saw him flex on somebody, it was explicitly him not revealing his curse technique, I'm going to assume he wouldn't randomly just flex and pull it out to style on some fodder. If I had to assume. Next thing that has me pretty confident, I kind of mentioned the known abilities of Sukuna and the unknown abilities of Sukuna, but there are also some unknown abilities of Maguna. This is not only the first time Mahoraga's been tamed, but it's the first time Mahoraga's been got. What does that do? Legitimately, Mahoraga is a super unique Shikigami on more ways than one. It's the only one that's been shown to adapt to the user's techniques, such as taking, cleave, or dismantle. Shrine itself, once again, I'm not sure if it's actually called Shrine, but take those techniques from Sukuna. It's the only one that seems to kind of be pseudo-sentient, but I suppose you could say all of them are, but the fact that Mahoraga has a brain and thought processes and all the stuff like that, the fact that it has the unique properties with the wheel being able to be spun out, like, Mahoraga is a unique creature. So the fact that Gojo one-tapped it with that hollow purple may be a blessing in disguise for Sukuna. Because admittedly, what does Sukuna have left? If Ahito didn't destroy the Shikigami fused into it, because I'm not sure if that counts as like Well's Abyss or if it totality. Like, if Divine Dog totality were to get got when Megumi was controlling it, would it be cooked? Would that be it? Like would it just be done? I'm not sure. I think it would be. So you would think Nue totality, Fusion Beast, Ahito, once that thing got cooked, all the Shikigami inside it got cooked. I can see Gege writing it like that to just expedite the process. But at the same time, we have like 3 Shikigami that I don't think were included. Let me double check real quick to make sure I'm not fibbing. But we still have options. It's not over for the 10 Shadows technique. Is it looking rough? Undeniably. Insanely undeniably. However, it's not looking impossible. You know what I'm saying? Because let me see. I believe Divine Dog Totality was not included, but let me make sure. Fusion Beast Ahito. Whip it out. Slap it on the table. Slap it on the table, Satu. Okay, it is in 234. Yep, they're chatting. Bada bing, bada boom. All the chatting in the room. That's Nue with some of Great Serpent, Tiger, Funeral. Oh, interesting. Tiger, Funeral instead of Morning Tiger, and Round Deer mixed into it. So there are a couple Shikigami missing from Nue. So even, let's say Ahito, since it is the totality, all those 10 shadows are now cooked, destroyed. Piercing Bull, Divine Dog, Rabbit Escape, and the Frog guys. Those are 4 that are still not included in that 4-way combo of Nue, Great Serpent, Tiger, and Round Deer. 4 missing. And then that leaves Mahoraga, and which one am I missing? I said Piercing Bull, Divine Dog, Frog, Rabbit, Mahoraga. I'm missing 1. But still, that's still there. And remember, now that Mahoraga's cooked, we could see a Mahoraga totality. Now, the effectiveness of such a totality is strange, to say the very least, if it's even possible. Like, if you go with the idea that Mahoraga essentially is hard bound to the wheel, we literally see the wheel get seemingly enough vaporized in 235. So maybe you're just unable to access Maharaga's power. It's the only one of the 10 shadows that very specifically has an external piece that one must carry or reference or pull out or sacrifice every single time. That treasure seems to be the only thing for Mahoraga. So maybe you could make the pretty solid argument that Mahoraga is fully cooked, but at the same time, I don't think Gege is going to waste Mahoraga like that, especially considering how unceremoniously Morning Tiger was dropped. Come on now. You know Big Papa Mahoraga gotta come in and cook. What that could mean a billion things. It could just mean that all the Shikigami are now way more powerful, and now Gojo needs to deal with them again. Could mean that Mahoraga's adaptations are transferred over to the Shikigami that he does the totality with. Or maybe Sukuna sacks the rest of the 10 shadows, and the Omega totality brings all their abilities into himself, and he's able to fight Gojo head on, once again using Mahoraga's previously saved adaptations. Once again, the only thing is the wheel. It's the wheel that's a little bit iffy on that. But once again, that is all there on the table. Another reason why I don't think the battle's over yet, the 10 Shadows has yet to be fully explored. And notably, as meat as I think the technique is, in Sukuna's hands, he's making it work, kind of. Obviously not that effectively, but he's fighting Satoru Gojo. Obviously, he's not going to be able to he couldn't make the Limitless and the Six Eyes work better fighting Satoru Gojo. I'm kidding. But with that being the case, we still have one more thing from Sukuna that I'm confident we kind of need to see, considering he is considered the strongest sorcerer in history up to this point. Dog. Where's the maximum at? Like, notably, we've seen pretty much everything else. We've seen the basic application of the technique. We've seen another type of the basic application of the technique. Cleave and dismantle. We've seen the black box. We've seen the flame arrows. We've seen the domain. We've seen domain amplification. We haven't seen him use simple domain, but he has domain amplification. And by the time he would use simple domain on anything, it's already too late. And we've seen so much. We've seen every other type of variety of ability, which makes sense. Both Gojo and Sukuna have been whipping everything that they have out of their bags, because that's what they need to deal with each other. But the fact that no maximum has been used by Sukuna also feels just a teeny tiny bit strange, right? Like, I get it. Maximums are undeniably the rarest technique in the series, outside of literal barrierless domain, which only 2 characters have. There are 3 maximums in the entire series. But I want you to look me dead in the eyes and tell me that you honestly believe that Eso is going to be able to freely use a maximum in their fight, but Sukuna isn't. That Jogo is going to be allowed to use a maximum, but Sukuna isn't. That Kenjaku's the main villain. so like, I'll back up on that one. And Geto is the main villain of Volume 0. So like, obviously they're main villains. But even with that being the case, I believe that on the hierarchy of importance, in a similar vein to talking about why I think that unknown factor, the stuff that we haven't got to see from Sukuna, is a big reason why I think the fight's not over. I'm going to have to chalk up the fact that random fodder, in the case of Eso, and then slightly more important random fodder in the name of Jogo, both got maximums, and it would kind of be criminal if we don't get to see at least one of Sukuna's. Just give me a whiff of one. Just a whiff of one maximum technique. I don't want no maximum output. I want no lab. No, just give me a maximum technique. I feel like it's too important for us to just glaze over. Don't get me wrong, there are a bunch, and I mean a bunch of creators who will especially leave end of series characters, especially those characters who are truly powerful, omega vague. Infinitely vague in terms of their actual capabilities and limits. However, usually in series like that, the power system is a bit more flexible, to the point where like we don't have specific types of techniques that we're looking out for from the characters. Like, I'm thinking consistently of a series like Magi, a series like Bleach, a series like, heck, even Naruto. Like, you can have a general guess about what characters have access to, but JJK is very, like, rigid, strict. Like, you have the basic application, you have the maximum, then you have the domain, you have literal progression in Jujutsu abilities, and the fact that we have not seen the second peak of Jujutsu, especially when the peak of Jujutsu has been locked off for Sukuna, seems a little bit strange. And this isn't just for Sukuna's main technique, even the 10 Shadows. Once again, essentially, a lot of people have been saying this, and I'm just going to have to parrot it because it is pretty much true. This battle between Gojo and Sukuna has not really, and this is ironically enough, another reason why I think the battle's going to go on, but I'll get to this in a second. This battle has essentially been a reenactment of the battle of the Zenin and Gojo clan heads from, I believe, 300 to 400 years ago. There's a battle of the Limitless and the Six Eyes versus the Ten Shadows technique. It is really not Gojo versus Sukuna, or the strongest versus the strongest. It is a technique showcase for the both of them. You can definitely argue it is more so Gojo versus Sukuna in the first half of the fight before they got brain pain, but even with that being the case, I'd still say, considering the main goal is the 10 Shadows and getting that whipping up in the kitchen, I would have to give more credit and more credence to the idea that ultimately the main point of conflict and contest is between the 10 Shadows and the Limitless, the Zenin clan and the Gojo clan. And ultimately, us not seeing a 10 Shadows maximum, kind of whack. Like no lie, it is just kind of whack. And I feel like seeing that would also be a requirement that's kind of built into this fight. Like, there are certain promises that Gege indirectly made by setting up this battle in the way that he did. So, the maximum of the 10 Shadows, or Sukuna's maximum, two things that I feel like are definitely just necessary. They need to happen. Because once again, it's highly unlikely that they'll happen again. And the final thing on Sukuna's end that I really want to talk about, I think is ultra super necessary in terms of why I don't think the fight is over and why I think it's very valid that we're going to keep going, is the idea that we have yet to see a completed, an absolute, and perfected Chimera Shadow Garden. We have not gotten a whiff, a taste, a lick, a scratch, an itch, nothing. None of it's here. And that feels strange, right? Because a lot of people were already theorizing before the Maguna plot twist. A lot of people were already naturally theorizing that, oh, you know, Megumi's kind of got an open barrier domain. Kind of, sort of. And you know who else has an open barrier domain? Before the Kenjaku reveal, that Kenjaku had one too. Oh yeah, Sukuna has an open barrier domain. So maybe Megumi, because a lot of people, I'll give credit, we didn't fully, well, I'm not even going to say we. People didn't fully guess the plot twist, but a lot of people, a lot of fans saw it. They were like, there's so many parallels, or so many like story hints and crosses with Megumi and Sukuna. So a lot of people were theorizing, oh, Megumi may get a barrierless domain. He may soak the entire world in shadow. And ultimately, considering Megumi's like Omega brain dead, like Omega, like for perspective, think of the fact that every single unlimited void is something that Megumi took. Gojo dropped like 6 of them bad boys for extended periods of time too. Like there was no short periods that Megumi had to suffer that extreme brain. That boy is gone. And I ain't talking about Hunter x Hunter. Like that, he's cooked. He's cooked. Megumi, he's done. We're not going to see Megumi unless there's some mystical, magical sensu bean healing stuff. We're not going to see Megumi mentally capable, I think, unless we like do a 15-year time skip. Even with him being a sorcerer and likely being able to recover faster than regular people, people were inside Gojo's domain for 0.2 seconds, and they needed 4 months of rehab and rehabilitation. Megumi's likely been experiencing the sure hit of Unlimited Void for like, at best, a minute. And a minute and 0.2 seconds, someone calculate. I'm pretty sure that's much worse of an effect to deal with. And I'm lowballing by saying a minute. So it feels like Gege should slide us the completed Chimera Shadow Garden. Once again, the only issue with that is that like Mahoraga's not part of that. And don't get me wrong, I understand that Mahoraga within the conventional understanding of Chimera Shadow Garden would be absolutely broken. Like imagine not having to fight just one Mahoraga, but 2 Mahoragas, 3 Mahoragas, 4 Mahoragas, 5 Mahoragas, while Sukuna's dropping myriad elephants on top of you from like literally everywhere, and Nues are flying about, shaking and lighting up the entire arena. Like, I get it would be a lot, but once again, it's Sukuna wielding the 10 Shadows technique. Obviously, we want it to be a lot, but still, I still think that's on the table. Another thing that Sukuna has yet to show that has me believing, and once again, I could just be huffing straight copium. It might be the first time, will not be the last. I could be huffing straight copium, but I think that's another reason why Sukuna is still a part of the fight, no matter how beat up he looks. But I'm talking all this stuff about Sukuna. Sukuna this, Sukuna that, Akuna, Matana, Sukuna, your mama. Like, I get it. But I'm not Gojo. right? Like, it's not like Sukuna is the only participant in this fight. Why do I think Gojo and his existence is very important? And the lack of, we have not seen a maximum. Ladies and gentlemen, we've seen everything else. No maxi though. No maxi. We thought, like me and everyone else in a mama, thought by the end of 233, allow me to quote real quick. The Inhuman Makia. Wait, nope, that is not it. I'm going to go all the way to Visit South for the official translation that had everyone, myself included, shaking in their boots and had me push up a video by like 3 weeks. We go to chapter 233. As it says, right here towards the end of chapter 233, on page... Load, please, load! On page 18 to 19? 18 to 19. That leaves only one way to erase Mahoraga in a single blow. It takes time, and Sukuna's wary of it. That's why he keeps attacking instead of adapting to red. But there's no other choice. I'll have to finish this with unlimited hollow. Everyone in their mama, your boy included, was like, this has to be his maximum, right? Like, because like, yeah, you came up with a name for Hollow Purple. It's Hollow Purple. Like Unlimited Hollow and Hollow Purple are not the same thing. And that's the official translation saying that too. That's not TCB. That's not the initial fan translation. No, that's the official Viz translations on Viz's own website for chapter 233 saying I'll have to finish this one Unlimited Hollow. That sounded like a new technique. That sounded like a maximum. Hollow Purple is not a maximum technique. It's a hollow technique, but that's not a maximum technique. In a similar vein to how Urume used maximum output Icefall on Maki and Yuji when they came to rescue Sukuna. It wasn't actually their maximum technique. That was just a whole bunch of ice. That was them using laps essentially on their ice technique. All Gojo really did in 235, and I say all Gojo really did, like it's unimpressive. He still did something very, very impressive, but Gojo just used Hollow Purple. A very non-conventional Hollow Purple, don't get me wrong, a very big one, the biggest one we've ever seen, which is probably why he calls it Unlimited Hollow, but still not a maximum technique. Dog, he's the only one with the Limitless, as far as we know, unless Yuta's in the kitchen taking notes right now. He's the only one with the Limitless. We should probably see, like, it's hard to argue. Who is the Dragonist in JJK? A lot of people wouldn't actually say Megami. I would even say Megami. But and you could definitely say, well, Nobaro's a tritagonist, the tertiary tagonist, but I'd say Gojo's a relatively important character. Once again, in the same relative weight class on the good guy side as Sukuna is in the same relative weight class on the bad guy side. And thusly, I feel like it would be wrong to end the series without seeing his actual maximum, and not just a variation of an attack that we've already seen before, literally within this very fight. Like, in my honest opinion, I feel like that's the case, and thusly, it would kind of be underwhelming if we went this entire battle and did not get to see Satoru's maximum technique, because he'd be the only guy that can pull it off. I highly doubt Yuta, even if he does have a copy of the Limitless, can use it anywhere near as well as Gojo, and even dare to whip out a maximum. Meanwhile, Gojo's maximum is something that I'm itching, scratching, and fiending for. You know what I'm saying? I'm scratching right now. But that's the main thing from Gojo, because notably we have seen pretty much everything else that Gojo has to offer, which is another reason why a lot of Sukuna fans before 235 are like, oh, Gojo's cooked. We've seen his basic applications of all three of his techniques. We've seen red, we've seen blue, we've seen purple, we've seen Symbol Domain, we've seen Falling Blossom Emotion, we've seen his domain expansion, we've seen him pull out fancy different. I mean, the only thing you could argue he hasn't used in this fight is like teleportation, but I'm not confident enough in this 13 chapter long fight to say that he definitively hasn't used that. And also, like, I guess Gojo just doesn't use it that often in combat, despite how broken that ability is. Trust me, if I could teleport in the middle of a fight, you would never touch me. But that's on me. But with that being the case, we've seen pretty much everything that Gojo has to offer, except for that maximum. And once again, since I assume this will be Gojo's big blowout major battle, the fact that we haven't seen that also gives me precedent that Sukuna and Gojo's battle is not yet over. And then the final thing, I kind of hinted at this earlier, I whiffed at it, but let me go more in depth. This has not felt like a battle between Gojo and Sukuna. Once again, It feels like a battle between the Six Eyes and the Limitless users and the 10 Shadows users. That is it. This does not feel like a battle between Gojo and Sukuna at all. And the reason I say that is because look at the body Megumi's in. Megumi's in. Of course, Megumi's in the body of Megumi. But look at the body that Sukuna's in. 2 arms? Two arms? Really? No beef? No, I mean, don't get me wrong. Sukuna's got them gains on him in Megumi's body, but like, no beef? No extra beef? No thinking. Okay, let me chill out there. But no giga beef, no nothing, no second stomach mount, nothing. This isn't Maguna, or no, it is Maguna. It's not Sukuna. It is literally Megumi possessed by Sukuna. And sure, that's fine. It's cool and all, but that's not the King of Curses. He's still too humanoid. It doesn't feel right. And once again, due to the lack of Sukuna's techniques really being relied on outside of Malevolent Shrine, once again, very specifically due to the conditions that Gojo naturally imposes on the battlefield, dog. Giggity dog. It doesn't even feel like Sukuna's been fighting. And trust me, I'm still against the Sukuna being a fraud stuff. I'm going to make the video now. Once again, we got a 2-week break. I think this is the perfect time to make the video, considering I hope in chapter 236 the fraudulent era is over. With that being the case, a lot of behind every single joke, behind every bit of humor, there's a modicum of truth. And the truth is, ever since he lost Domain, and even arguably before that, before he even lost Domain, Sukuna has been relying on the 10 Shadows. The 10 Shadows have been a crutch. And I gotta get against this Gojo, man, with this technique that I stole from a 15-year-old. Like, it is just it. But now that that crutch is gone, now that he lost Mahoraga, and once again, assuming that Gege does not fancily reincorporate Mahoraga or its adaptations back through Sukuna, through a totality thing or 10 Shadows failsafe thing, now it's all on to Sukuna to fight. And obviously Gojo's not going to change. He's not going to suddenly develop a third technique. But still, that's the final big thing. The fact that this has not been a battle between the strongest in history and the strongest of the modern day. It's been a battle between the strongest of the modern day and the strongest in history wielding a modern technique. It just doesn't feel right. Once again, I'm going to make a whole video talking about the difference between Itadori body Sukuna and Megumi body Sukuna, because I think there is a drastic difference in both their presentation, their execution, their levels of... There's a bunch of stuff that goes into that discussion. But even with all that, and the complications that will naturally come with that sort of discussion, the fact that it feels like Gojo and Sukuna haven't really been fighting because of that unnatural, shadowy middle ground that divides the two of them, that feels like the final reason that things got to get active. The King of Curses is going to finally have to cook on his own, rather than relying on a technique he stole because he thought it'd be interesting. So, that's what I think. I think the battle isn't over for all the reasons listed. All the mystery that's left between the two characters. The fact that the fight doesn't feel like the fight that it should be. The fact that Sukuna's still alive. There's so much that could still go on in this battle. And I wouldn't be shocked if we're heading right into round 3. However, that's what I think. Please know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure that the little notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as low as $1 a month. Get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include things like live reactions, some other content, and good stuff. But thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That by the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Plays and Red Bull 4765. I'd like to give a very big thank you to our $5 patrons, Sean Gray, Red Bull 4765, Midnight Gemlord, Kevin, Demix LND, and Art Goon. I'd like to give another super big thank you to our $10 patrons, Robbie Uchiha, Joaquin, and Idemokami. And a final very big thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. I'd like to give a very, very big thank you to our $25 patron, Igneo Lin.